You know what's interesting about the Gus Lamont case? It's not just what we know, it's what we're not being told. And more importantly, it's the unusual level of privacy being maintained around this investigation. Welcome back to Behind the Crime Scene. In our last video, we talked about how the police declared this a major crime investigation, but today we're examining a different angle: the family dynamics, the unusual media silence, the questions that remain unanswered. And I want to be very clear up front. This is analysis and commentary based on publicly reported information. We're not making accusations, we're asking questions. Here's what I want you to think about. In 5 months since Gus Lamont disappeared, how many times have you seen his mother on camera? How many public appeals has the family made? How many press conferences have they held? According to media reports, the answer appears to be zero. In fact, reportedly, only one photo of Gus has been released to the public. For a case that's gripped the entire nation, that's had hundreds of people searching, that's now a major crime investigation, that's highly unusual. So today we're examining why this case feels so different from other missing child investigations. What makes this family's approach so unique? And what can we learn from the patterns we're seeing? Let's start with what's been publicly reported about the people at Oak Park Station. According to news sources, Gus lived there with his mother, Jessica, his younger brother, and his two grandmothers, Shannon Murray and Josie Murray. Police have confirmed that both parents have been ruled out as suspects. Now, according to the Daily Mail's investigation published in February 2026, there's significant background to this family that helps us understand the dynamics at play. Josie Murray is reported to be 75 years old and, according to the Daily Mail, transitioned from male to female at some point. The Daily Mail reports that this transition occurred shortly after Shannon's father passed away. Why does this matter? Because according to public records reported by the Daily Mail, Oak Park Station was originally Shannon's family property, part of the Pfeiffer family legacy. The property is reported to be approximately 60,000 hectares, a substantial sheep farming operation. According to the Daily Mail, by 2015, the property deeds had been changed and Oak Park Station is now registered in Josie's name. Now, I want to be very careful here. People have the right to their identity and their personal journey, full stop. What's relevant for our analysis is understanding the family structure and who has legal control of the property, because that helps us understand the dynamics and pressures that might exist within this household. Here's what strikes me as highly unusual about this case compared to other missing child investigations I've covered: the almost complete absence of public family involvement. And I'm basing this on what's been reported and what hasn't been reported. According to multiple media sources, Jessica, Gus's mother, has not appeared on camera during these 5 months. The family has reportedly communicated through lawyers who have released written statements. According to reports, only one photograph of Gus has been provided to media and the public. Now, compare that to the typical pattern we see in missing child cases. Usually, families are incredibly visible. They hold daily press conferences. They plead directly to the camera. They share dozens of photos, hoping someone will recognize their child. They do media interviews. They use social media. They do everything possible to keep their child's face in the public eye. So the question becomes, why is this case so different? Now, there could be innocent explanations. Maybe the family is private by nature. Maybe they're following legal advice. Maybe they're overwhelmed by grief and unable to face cameras. These are all possible. But it's still worth examining because it's such a departure from what we typically see. There's also been reporting about an incident where media was confronted aggressively while on or near the property. I've seen video footage that appears to show someone yelling at a reporter who was leaving. Now, property owners certainly have rights to control access to their land, but the intensity of that interaction, as captured on video, seemed to go beyond standard "please leave" territory. The question this raises: does this seem like the behaviour of a family desperately trying to generate publicity to find their missing child? Or does it suggest a desire to minimise media attention? I'm not saying either answer means anything definitive. I'm saying it's worth noting the pattern. Let's talk about something uncomfortable but necessary: the financial aspects of this case. And I want to be clear, I'm not making accusations about motive. I'm examining what's at stake, because understanding stakes helps us understand behaviour. Oak Park Station is reportedly 60,000 hectares. That's approximately 148,000 acres. According to the Daily Mail's reporting, this is a substantial sheep farming operation. Property of this size and type in South Australia represents significant wealth. We're talking about a multi-million dollar asset. According to the Daily Mail, the property is legally registered to Josie Murray. Now, here's what we know happens to properties when they become associated with serious crimes. Property values can be significantly impacted. Buyers are often reluctant to purchase properties with dark histories. The stigma can be substantial and lasting. So, theoretically, if this investigation were to conclude with charges related to Gus's disappearance, and if those charges involved someone connected to the property, what happens to Oak Park Station? The financial impact could be devastating. The reputational impact even more so. And there's another layer here. According to the Daily Mail's reporting, Josie's family has significant social standing in the region. Josie's father, Alexander Murray, was reportedly a World War II veteran honoured for his service. Josie's mother, Janine, was reportedly awarded the Medal of the Order of Australia for community service. This is a family that, according to reports, was held in high regard. So we're not just talking about financial stakes, we're talking about generational reputation, legacy, standing in the community, all of which could be irreparably damaged depending on how this investigation concludes. Now, does having something to lose mean someone is guilty of something? Absolutely not. But it does help us understand why a family might choose to handle media and public relations in a particular way. When you have significant assets and reputation at stake, you might be more likely to communicate through lawyers and maintain strict privacy. That's a rational choice regardless of guilt or innocence. So let me lay out the questions that I think are worth asking about this case. And again, asking questions doesn't mean I have the answers or that I'm accusing anyone of anything. It means I'm trying to understand patterns that seem unusual. Question 1. Why has Jessica reportedly not appeared publicly to appeal for her son? Police have confirmed she's not a suspect. So what explains the absence? Is it personal choice? Legal strategy? Something else? This is genuinely puzzling because, in most cases, mothers are the most visible advocates for their missing children. Question 2. Why has reportedly only one photo of Gus been released? Most parents have hundreds of photos on their phones. Why limit public access to just one image when more photos might help someone recognize him or remember seeing him? What's the thinking behind that choice? Question 3. What's the actual family dynamic in this household? You have reportedly Josie, who legally owns the property, Shannon, whose family property it was originally, Jessica, a single mother with 2 young children living with her parents. Who makes decisions in this family structure? Who has influence? These dynamics matter because they affect how information flows and how choices get made. Question 4. According to Detective Filk's press conference, someone at Oak Park Station withdrew their cooperation with police after inconsistencies were found in their account. That person is now considered a suspect. What were those inconsistencies? When did they stop cooperating? And why would someone make that choice when a child is missing? Question 5. What's Josh's role been in all of this? Josh is Gus's father. He lived separately from the family. According to some reports, there may have been tensions between Josh and the Murray family. So how has that affected the investigation? Has he been included in family decisions? Has communication been open? These are relevant questions because family dynamics can significantly impact investigations. Let's look at what Detective Superintendent Filker revealed in his press conference, because this gives us insight into where the investigation is focused. Police executed a search warrant in January 2026 and seized a vehicle, a motorcycle, and electronic devices. All of these items are undergoing forensic testing. Police are planning additional searches at Oak Park Station and an adjacent national park, and they've identified a suspect who has stopped cooperating. Now, what can we infer from this? When police forensically examine vehicles, they're typically looking for evidence of where those vehicles went, what they might have transported, and whether there's any physical evidence inside them. GPS data, soil samples, fibre evidence, that sort of thing. When they examine electronics, they're looking at communications, location data, search histories, and deleted files. Modern forensics can recover a lot of digital information even after people think they've erased it. And when they plan searches in a national park adjacent to the property, that suggests they have intelligence or evidence pointing them toward a specific area. They're not searching randomly. They have reasons to focus their attention there. Detective Filk also stated clearly that they don't believe Gus is alive. This is no longer a rescue operation. They're looking for remains. And that shift in focus tells us a lot about what evidence they've gathered and what conclusions they've drawn. I've covered a lot of cases over the years, and there are patterns that tend to emerge. I want to talk about those patterns not to accuse anyone in this case, but to provide context for what we're observing. In cases involving families with significant wealth or property, we often see delayed cooperation with investigators. Sometimes this is because wealthy families can afford sophisticated legal advice, and lawyers often counsel clients to limit their interactions with police. That's actually sound legal strategy, even if you're completely innocent. We also see families with high social standing being more concerned about managing their public image. They communicate through official channels. They control the narrative carefully. They limit what information gets released. Again, this doesn't indicate guilt. It indicates a different approach to crisis management. But here's where it gets complicated. Those same behaviours, the legal caution and the public relations management, can also slow down investigations. They can create barriers to information flow. They can make it harder for police to get timely answers to important questions. So even when these behaviours come from innocent motivations, they can have problematic effects on the investigation itself. The question becomes, at what point does protecting yourself legally and reputationally start to conflict with helping find a missing child? And how do families navigate that tension? I don't have easy answers to these questions, but they're worth considering. Where this investigation is heading based on Detective Filkey's statements, it's clear that police are maintaining sustained pressure on this investigation. They've declared it a major crime. They have a suspect. They're conducting ongoing forensic analysis. They're planning additional searches. The challenge in any investigation involving people with resources is that you need an absolutely solid case before you make arrests or file charges. Defense attorneys for people with means are going to scrutinize every piece of evidence, every procedure, every chain of custody. So prosecutors need to be absolutely certain before they move forward. But modern forensics are incredibly powerful. DNA analysis, digital forensics, soil and fiber analysis, all of these tools are remarkably good at uncovering evidence even when people have tried to hide it. If that vehicle was used to transport anything related to Gus, if those electronics contain relevant searches or communications, if that national park contains what police think it might, the forensics will likely reveal it. The question is timing. How long will the forensic analysis take? When will police have enough evidence to move forward? These processes can take months, which is frustrating for everyone watching and waiting for answers. Look, I want to be very clear about what I am and am not saying in this video. I am not accusing any specific person of any crime. I am not saying that the family's approach to media proves anything about guilt or innocence. What I am saying is that this case has unusual features that are worth examining and discussing. The level of privacy being maintained is unusual for a missing child case. The limited release of photos is unusual. The apparent absence of public family appeals is unusual. These things could all have innocent explanations, but they're still worth noting and analysing because they represent a different pattern than what we typically see. What we can say with certainty is that police have identified a suspect at the property. Someone has stopped cooperating with the investigation. Forensic examinations are ongoing, and police believe this is a criminal matter involving Gus's death. Everything else, all the family dynamics and financial considerations and questions about behaviour, these are context. They help us understand the environment in which this tragedy occurred. They help us ask better questions, but they don't give us definitive answers about what happened to Gus Lamont. What Gus deserved was protection and safety. What he deserves now is a thorough investigation that follows evidence wherever it leads and holds accountable whoever is responsible. Whether that happens quickly or slowly, publicly or quietly, what matters is that it happens. To everyone watching, I encourage you to follow this case, but to do so thoughtfully. Ask questions, examine patterns, but also remember that until charges are filed and proven in court, everyone involved is legally innocent. That's how our justice system works, and it's important even when it's frustrating. This is Behind the Crime Scene. We'll continue covering this case as developments emerge. Justice for Gus means a proper investigation, proper evidence, and proper legal proceedings. That's what we should all be demanding. If you have information about this case, contact South Australia Police or Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000. If you found this analysis valuable, subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments. But please, keep comments respectful and remember that speculation about specific individuals can have legal consequences. See you in the next one.